best game of the day in week 3, Eagles and Rams. Eagles end up winning 33-26 off of 2 straight blocked field goals, something I haven't seen ever, not 2 straight in the game. So the Rams scored 26 points in the first half. They did not score in the second half. Didn't score. This was a bad day for the Jalen Hurts haters because I was getting some texts saying this is the point where the Eagles were up 26-7. I'm sorry, the Rams were up 26-7 over the Eagles. The offense was putrid. Jalen Hurts had maybe minus one yard passing. It's pretty awful. And I'm getting some texts saying, like, I told you about the Eagles. I told you about Jalen Hurts. Haha, you have him in your top 5. And yesterday reminded me why I do have him in my top 5. The running game was neutralized. Saquon Barkley, last year's Offensive Player of the Year, the guy who had over 2,000 yards rushing, was absolutely contained and almost limited to being a non-factor. So Jalen Hurts and the Eagles in the locker room basically said, all right, we got to throw the ball. Because they remember that, hey, I got A.J. Brown and I got Devontae Smith out there on the outside. We're probably going to have to throw the ball. No problem. First drive of the game, A.J. Next play, Devontae Smith. Running down the field, Dallas Goedert, touchdown. Eagles defense gets a stop. Throw the ball again, A.J. Brown, touchdown. Now, the Rams had this game won. I'm not blind to that. 2 blocked field goals, it simply should not happen. 2 straight is unheard of. So, yeah, the Rams should have won this game. We know that. They should have won this game. Matthew Stafford didn't play great, but they were in a position to win this game for the entire second half. And even down to the wire when the Eagles came all the way back and went up by about 2 points. They had a chance to win the game. You just can't allow Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis to block the field, be in a position to block the field goal twice. You got to make an adjustment somewhere. The Rams simply didn't make an adjustment, and it happened again. That's why they won the game. But this doesn't change how I feel about the Rams being a contender in the NFC East, specifically for being a contender to the Philadelphia Eagles. I just think that they did everything they could to lose the game. They just didn't finish the deal. But it also reminded me why I have Jalen Hurts in my top 5. I say it all the time when I talk about Jalen Hurts. What do you need from me to win this game? In this particular game, the running game was not working. Saquon Barkley was basically bottled up. All right, we need you to throw. No problem. Pardon me for reaching, but Jalen Hurts is starting to give you that Tom Brady feel. I know what I said. The Tom Brady feel. When you know the second half begins and they're down big, but do you feel safe with your lead? Do you feel comfortable based on who's on the other side with the football? Jalen Hurts is starting to give you that feel where it's like, hey, it's not over. You better take him out and keep scoring if you're going to beat him. Because if you give him a chance, just like if you gave Brady any kind of a chance, he was going to do it. This guy has continued to do everything, whatever it takes, game to game to game, to win the game. He threw for 200 something yards in the second half. Most games, he probably won't even have to do that because, hey, the running game's working. Saquon Barkley's got it going. That's how we win the game. I go back to the Kansas City game when Chris Jones had said, hey, you only had 100 yards. Jalen Hurts responded, we won the effing game. That's what he's about. That's a guy that you trust to win games, no matter how you need to get it done. He can beat you any kind of way any kind of way he can beat you. Through the air, with his legs, however you want to do it. I don't see why this Philadelphia Eagles team cannot go back to the Super Bowl. I don't see why. I know I talked about the Rams, I talked about the Buccaneers, I talked about the Green Bay Packers possibly being contenders to derailing the Philadelphia Eagles. But as long as they got number 1 upright at quarterback, I don't see why the Eagles don't go back to the Super Bowl. I know I'm not high on their secondary. I think it's a little bit worse than it was last year, especially outside Quinyon Mitchell, their young budding superstar at corner. I don't really trust their secondary, but still got A.J. Brown, still got Vontae, still got Jalen Hurts, still got Saquon Barkley. Defensively, you still got Blankenship. You got Mitchell, like I said. You got Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. You got Zach Bond, who is a do-it-all linebacker, one of the best in the game that really doesn't get talked about enough. This guy does everything you need on the defensive side at the linebacker position. You need him to cover, no problem. You need him to blitz, no problem. This guy does whatever you need. He's a key piece on that defense that does not get talked about enough. I think the Eagles go back to the Super Bowl. I don't think anyone stops him.